Aaron Young and Chris Hirata, you guys are going to tag team it. Is that it?
The two of us.
Okay,
We figured
that's fine.
we should both show our face. So you can grab us sometime in this
Yeah.
week. We should just pause that though. Spoiler alert. How do I pause this? Is it going to just keep going? All right. I just hope it stays there. All right. So I'm going to take care of the first half of the presentation, and Chris will take over in the second half. But let's say if you have any thoughts about the high latitude wide area survey this week, you can grab either one of us and talk to us. So let me just show you who else is on the committee. So I think Risa, what I heard from a month ago, she might pop in later this week. I'm not sure if that's still happening, but she might be here. So you can also grab her if you see her. But yeah, so talk to us. Right, so let me first start with telling you the theme and questions the committee is trying to address. So the high latitude wide area survey is this big survey that serves the cosmology community, but also in general, the general astrophysics community, people who are interested in, resolved stellar population maybe in nearby galaxies, also the people like me who are interested in distant galaxies. Basically, it's a survey that we try to cater to as many people as possible, the big community survey. So we received 38 science white paper, ranging, with people chiming in from a wide variety of background and interests. We get input from solar system science all the way out to high-Z survey, going wide to going deep. So there are a lot to consider, a lot to parse through. So the science drivers that are pitched in this white paper give us a lot to think about, including what we'll gain if we go wider, a lot wider than the DRM, the Design Reference Mission, or a lot deeper than the Design Reference Mission. And of course we want to do both, but we can't do both. So in the time that we have in hand, what do we do so everyone is happy? Of course, it's really hard. So Roman can only push on one of the following. It can go deep, it can go wide, and also there are how many filters do we use, what filters are useful to enable what science, that's all in our consideration. And we can do all three. We can do all 8 filters with unlimited depth and area. So and another thing to consider is synergy with other instrument, particularly with Subaru, especially they have this 100 nights contribution, which we still don't know where it will be spent on, but putting the field in a place that Subaru can access seems to be a reasonable thing to do. But also we got a large number of white paper that advocate for overlapping with Rubin because of what can be done with the two the synergistic observation strategy between the two. And of course there are also many legacy fields that already have deep imaging or spectroscopic data that we have to consider, especially for instrument cover in the past that covers wavelength or energy range that are not going to be covered in the near future. So things that, a lot of things we're thinking of in the committee. So the overall trade space is very complex, as we put in the last line of the slide. So this is work done so far by the committee. We have started meeting in this February, and we meet diligently every week. So we talk and a lot of homework. So we ingested all the white papers that are indicated that they're relevant to the wide area survey, and every white paper is assigned a primary reviewer, and all the white papers has been extensively discussed among the committee. So we have kept track on what's been advocated, what the science will gain if we make certain change to the design reference mission, or add a particular filter or things like that. So and one thing is we also familiarize with the design reference mission from the Roman science team. And we also got a Roman mission update from Julie. And based on the white papers that we got, the main themes are grouped into the following 3. Some advocating for deep imaging, covering a few to tens of square degree, And of course, if you go look at the white paper, there are a few sites in the sky or a few fields that are very popular. And of course, I want to do them all. We can't. So we have to keep very close track on. We have a giant spreadsheet on what legacy data do we have, what upcoming data do we expect, and what science do we gain. So the bottom line is the decision we make is based on the scientific return to the community. So what's been advocated and what it will enable. So let's see. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. All right, Chris.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. I'll be saying a little bit more about this trade space and the process as it's ongoing. So the baseline time allocation that we've gotten for the high latitude wide area survey is 505 days. And so this is an allocation that would be for both the imaging and spectroscopy components. Now, of course, the design reference mission had 2,000 square degrees of imaging in 4 filters, Y through F184, as well as the GRISM spectroscopy to enable both weak lensing cosmology and galaxy redshift survey, and some deep fields. This is actually a little bit less than the design reference mission. So we're negotiating with the project a little bit on that, and hopefully, so hopefully we'll have somewhat updated guidance by the time of the August community report, which is on the next slide. I think for the trade space itself, for the medium and wide tiers, many of the science cases we got white papers about benefit more from area than depth, except to the point that if you push the exposure time short enough that read noise and overhead start to pick up, or if you have insufficient numbers of dither positions to do your science case, then you don't win. So there are some technical questions that the committee is going to the PID and the project about there. So the axes include, of course, Aaron mentioned that the science was sort of split into, science needs were sort of split into these tiers. There's the question of how much to allocate to each of them. The design reference mission didn't actually have this super wide tier going to much greater than 2,000 square degrees. But the committee received some very convincing input that this would be a good thing to do, and so we're working on strategies that would incorporate some of that. Of course, the time has to come from somewhere. There's a spectroscopic versus imaging area. I think for the medium tier, remember hundreds of square degrees up through 2,000, there's a space of course, exposure time versus filters versus total area, and even the question of whether the medium tier is really 1 versus 2. There's a way of creating a wide tier out of the design reference mission. That is, you create a wide tier where you survey many thousands of square degrees fast, and the baseline 4 filter plus GRISM area is shrunk to provide that time. There's another space of this, or another direction you could go, which is to decide that you're going to keep the 2,000 square degrees of in the reference mission, except then pull back some of the filters and do a portion of the 2,000 square degrees that way. That's 2 medium tiers. That's another way of freeing up time for a wide tier. So which of those, if either, will do is, I think, probably the aspect of the trade space that's going to have the biggest overall effect on on how we subdivide the 505 plus or minus days. And then there's a whole question associated with footprint locations, as Aaron mentioned. So how the committee is addressing this, how we've organized work over the next over the last couple of months, and then going forward into August, we've split ourselves up into 4 subgroups. One to focus on depth, area, and bands for the medium and deep surveys. This subgroup is looking at things like adding a K-band, which we got a number of white papers suggesting. There's field choice, and there's north equatorial south. There are advantages and disadvantages for either of those. For the primary cosmology science case, overlap with Rubin Observatory is very important. It's in the south. The equatorial fields get you observability from observatories in both hemispheres, but the sky is brighter there. And so the question of how you distribute your square degrees into each of those bands is in addition to specific fields, is a major consideration there. There's a third group looking at cadence and dithering, and for the medium and deep layers, and there's a fourth group specifically to look at the wide survey option. Where we're hoping to go with this is to generate a small, manageable list of options for deeper study. So they should span a few points in this trade space. We'll be looking at sort of both scientific assessment against the specific white papers we got, as well as forecasts for the main for the cosmology applications, the initial drivers of these surveys. For both that and the technical assessment of what some of these different options would mean for the data processing, will be in close collaboration with the pits. Especially some of the very fast options lead to things like incomplete coverage, or because of chip gaps, you might get some holes in the survey. There are sampling issues. We need to make sure we understand all of that. We'll have some kind of interim report out in August. That's an update. It's not a final report. But our hope and where we're trying to go is that will give an indication of which points within this trade space seem to be most promising as a preliminary assessment. And then we'll try to work with all of our stakeholders to do a deep dive and really understand each one before we head towards coming up with final recommended strategies. So look out for that. And we'll also advertise that the science pitch form is still active, and we'll be looking at things we receive there. If you have any late-breaking ideas related to the high latitude wide area survey, also keep your eyes open for that report, and you can and of course you can email us. Thanks.